Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tuber. Welcome back. This is your 8th Nancy Drew Season 4 episode review. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. I apologize for being later than even normal for Nancy Drew. So short story aside, I already said this last week that I wasn't able to, for at least a couple more weeks to record these episodes live because I have another obligation to do at that time period. So the second thing is that yesterday when I was supposed to record it, I literally had no time because my usual co-host, Istres George here, showed up to record some new episodes of What's in the Tube for the fall and the upcoming Father Season 2 review. So we were a little busy. We didn't really entirely have time. I didn't have time to squeeze in Nancy Drew for myself. So here we are. And this episode, I'm like, it's low-key they knew this was going to be the final season because like we're just checking off so many like not cliche like long shows motif is now we got in a lot this season as well. Now we're doing another one and I'm just like it's the most amusing and it's just the most fun, and again it allows the actors kind of like play around a little bit with the characters they already have and adapt to new characters, if you understand what I mean. But this also was a very somber episode. This was very emotional at times. It just marks how far we've came in the Drewniverse timeline. And how much more we still have left. I mean, I know like it's still kind of pointing when we still have now 5 episodes left after this. But still, it was very much it was very nice. Again, it's similar to last week where like we're really feeling like this little group is like a little family, and that they're so tight-knit of like, will anything ever split them apart? We'll find out. But with that being said, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Nancy Drew. So we begin with, I don't entirely remember 100% how we began this episode. I know that we begin, like the first scene I remember this is probably not the first scene in the episode, but like, when Ace is having breakfast with his dad, just to catch up a little bit. And Ace's dad's asking about what happened with Nancy. It doesn't seem like you two are together anymore. And Ace is doing the cliche like, yeah, we just are taking a break. That, we're just not, we just need a little time from each other. That's all. Like nothing really too complicated to really think of, so to speak. So that was really something that was really a problem to him to admit, because the other thing is that with Ace and his dad is like, they haven't really like, had a real like discussion on the table since, Ace's dad kicked him out last season. I'm pretty sure they kind of, settled it afterwards, but like, this being like, I think the first real time we've seen them like together in like a while is very prevalent. I know that we had another scene with I think this is preceding this where Nancy calls up her dad Carson about how today is the 1-year anniversary of when the mom passed away, and that was still. I also forgot. I thought that the show, like, I don't know why in my brain I thought like we were going from junior year, so I thought this was the 2nd anniversary, but no, this is the 1st anniversary. So again, so much has happened in the Drewniverse timeline where like, the aspect of like concept of time is very abstract, where like they're literally squeezed in 4 seasons of this show into like 1 year. And of course, like we haven't hit like the year mark for Nancy Drew yet. I'm pretty sure like there's a part of me that's thinking, is Nancy Drew literally going to end as a show in the end of like we caught up full circle when episode 1? Like it's like the last episode was the 1-year anniversary of the show in the universe. So that's what I'm curious about. That's what I'm very curious. But it's also a very somber day. Even Carson pitches the idea of like, we used to have these big family, dinners every night. And, especially since this is a special one, invite your friends, let's have a big old dinner together. But since sadly, we're not quite there yet with the gang yet, because sadly, unfortunately, Carson is still, Nancy's still very much a little mopey. With everything between Ryan and the entire, investigation with this mysterious being in the blood and everything. So I'm like, it's not really the right time for them to really be like celebrating and like, as well as, let's add more misery to the pile, like on this day of remembrance. Again, it's not the way you should be remembering it, but like, we'll get to more about that later. We catch back over to the Claw where the rest of the Drew crew are Oh, no, I remember how the hell the episode began. I did now. It's when Nancy apparently broke into town hall. She didn't steal anything, but she just actually went for the wrong door, and it rang a bell. For some reason, Ryan was just happens to be nearby, so that's her getaway driver. Which, even though, like, okay, she got another breaking and entering trouble. I'm like, you're in broad daylight. I'm pretty sure someone would have seen Nancy Drew like running in the middle of the street. I mean, and there's probably security cameras. So I'm like, I don't know what you're running from. They're gonna catch you eventually, but. C'est la vie. But, I'm picking up where, like, that left off last week where the ghost, from last week's episode, told him, hey, the black door is in town hall. And, right now, like, they went to town hall and it's not there. There's no black door. So now she's like, damn, back to square one yet again. However, meanwhile, Ryan was also searching up for this artifact for Bess, this mysterious artifact that was going to be, I forgot what it was, what was going to be really used for, just something Bess needed, and, she needed Ryan's services. So, he did it for her. So he drives her all the way to the claw to, like, so they could drop it off together. He has to take a call, and then that's when Nancy runs into Ace. Again, more awkwardness between them. Still not perfect. They're just, trying their best to, like, keep things going, even though this is extremely, really awkward. Back inside, Nick is rehearsing his speech for the upcoming, when he's about to run for the town committee chair. Seems to be going pretty well. Sadly, George is a little distracted since Nick is back in the dating game. Kind of so is she. She's talking to one of her classmates for a study date, even though she's not calling it a study date. It's just a study session, but, like, in reality, it's a study date. Obviously, once again, George is, like, trying to, like, I don't know whether or not they're really ready for love again. Like, it doesn't seem like it the case. But, like, George is having fun. She's just, enjoying herself. Nick doesn't really seem to be minding because, again, they both gave themselves permission of, like, hey, you know what? We're young. Like, we're allowed to explore things that are not with each other, have other opportunities. So I'm like, that makes sense, so to speak. Nancy and Ace show up. Trying to get everyone to be on board with, like, trying to find this back on the main investigation, but everyone's kind of busy this week because also, Bess has to do this ritual. I forgot if it was for money or if it was a favor. I forgot, but, like, she has to perform this ritual for a couple of out of towners. For my DualSense 5 went off. Well, my DualSense it went off. So she's kind of busy today, and then she goes over to the box to look up the package from Ryan. It's only like half a pyramid or half a triangle. I really don't know what that's for. She touches which sends out a massive shockwave that hits everyone in the restaurant. Ryan hits inside, immediately gets shocked when, like, everyone's on the ground, collapse. Once they all come to, apparently, yep, it's the body switching episode where they all switch body. Nancy's in Ace's, Ace is in Nancy's, Bess is in Nick's is in, not George. No, wait. Nick is in, Nick is in, wait, where's Nick? Nick is in, crap, I forgot where Nick's at. I really forgot. Wait, what was Nick? Oh, no, Bess was inside of George. And George was inside of Nick. Was that not? Now I'm confused. I know, okay, so Nick and Ace, Nancy and Ace switch with each other. For sure, Bess was in Nick's. So that leaves George was in Bess's. So Nick was in Bess. Yeah, that makes real sorry, it was, like, very much wrong in that I was, like, completely lost. No, wait, George was in Bess, and then Nick was in George? Oh, right, yeah. Okay, actually, now I'm realizing that, because for some reason I thought Bess was in George for a second, so I'm like, oh god, that actually, paints things a little differently, but, like, same old thing, like, Nancy and Ace have to pair off, Nancy, Ace, Nancy, they have to pair off, and, because another problem is that Ace actually scheduled a lunch with his dad before everything happens, so now he has to go, but the problem is that Nancy and Ace's body doesn't fully understand ASL, so, like, Nancy has to go with him, so they tally off. Ryan goes up to go find the other piece of the pyramid so they can at least maybe salvage them, trying to get them back to normal. And everyone has to go on their way. They're all switching phones just to make sure that everyone's kind of, like, still in character, so to speak. Which I'm like, yeah, that's kind of smart. That, that's the number one smart thing you should really do. Like, think about that if you ever get body swapped. So Bess Nick goes off to city council to go and I forget what the term is. Register herself, register him, her. I'm so freaking lost with this body switching episode. Not Nick goes to do his speech with Bess kind of taking the wheel, and then it's up to basically George and Nick inside Weird Bias to do the seance, as well as to also succeed in George's not study date. So it's kind of like a little bit surreal there. So they're all over the place, to be honest with you. In the meantime, yeah, so they're still trying to figure out the whole like dinner thing. Like, is that really meant to happen, so to speak? But the only thing I do remember, so to go in the order, because like this is gonna get very confusing for my little brain. So Nancy and Ace have the lunch with Ace's dad. You know, obviously Nancy's kind of using this opportunity as well, like to really impress. Ace's dad's like, hey, you know how to speak ASL? That's good. If only you were my son's wife or something like that. And Nancy Ace is just trying her damn best to like pretend like, yeah, I understand you guys completely. Because they're investigating, like, because the only record of a Black Door list in anywhere in Horseshoe Bay was on this arrest record from 2002. That Ace's dad participated in the arrest, and so he would be the only one. And when the arrest was made, it was at a yacht club that conveniently had a town hall. Well, it was labeled as a town hall at the time, so like that must be where the Black Door is. So they head off, and accidentally Nancy Ace accidentally gets real Ace into a boating trip with his dad after this is entirely over, which is exactly what Ace didn't want to do, because he didn't want to have any more conversation with his dad about Nancy. So they head off to the yacht club. She's about to use her status as a Hudson to get herself in there, but however, it's conveniently a special day where only club members can show up by themselves, no guests. So it's like, damn, Ace that has no real interest in mysteries now has to find a secret door in the freaking place. So, yeah, therefore, and of course, Nancy stuck in Ace's body gets way too curious, needs to be inside, gets herself inside there, but to get busted by the manager, so they both get kicked out right away. Speaking, Best Nick goes to do the speech. Very rough, very wooden, but like, you know, it gets the point across, and it seems like it's winding down that, you know, they're about to submit the ballot, and then, you know, they can go forward from the actual election from there. But then another town woman speaks up about Nick, about his real intentions for the town, because like, you know, he's not really a loco, he's just kind of like, he's still kind of new. Like, of everyone in town, he's kind of like still the new guy. So I'm like, do we really want to let the future of our city of our town be run by a guy who's not even in our town? Also, they bring up the thing about Bess and the Historic Society. It really hurts Nick's credibility in that moment again. Oh, another thing to notice is that Bess's British accent goes through to Nick, which sounds really, really weird. Like, again, it's not something that I'm accustomed to. So, like, it's not only just the actor of Nick playing a British accent, he has to play Bess's British accent, that specific tone, which is like, it's very hard to sell. It's very hard to sell. But thankfully, their roll around is that they're just going to pretend. They're just going to have her pretend to still be Nick's voice. So I'm like, that was a bit funny to see. Meanwhile, back at the Claw, they're trying their best to, like, you know, organize everything, but however, it's just a complete shabaco. Right now, sadly, they did not cancel the study. They ignored the seance, so they both have to participate in that, even though they're not proper experts in them. So Nick Best goes over to the Historic Society to go talk to the George Best goes over to talk to the to individuals trying to get them kicked out, like, you're saying, hey, look, we cannot do this today. You can come back tomorrow. But one of the guys is like, no, my brother needs this. You promised us over the phone, like, this needs to be done today. If he waits any longer, there's a chance that this curse might not reverse. So she's got no choice. Like, okay, fine, I'm gonna take you to the Claw. We're gonna meet the real Best Marvin so that you can go get taken care of. And now we have Nick stuck in George's body, stuck on a study day. And I was actually now very curious, now that I was thinking about, like, what was the angle they were going to take. Because, like, again, Nick was George's boyfriend for, like, a good amount of months. So I'm like, he was very much in love with her. And, like, you know, how would he feel, like, having another guy, like, step in there and, like, actually, take her away. And again, they've talked about it already. Like, they're ready to move on from each other. Like, they need to move on from each other because it's not healthy to always think like, okay, you're here for me and that's it. Like, this is how life is supposed to be. However, it goes really well. You know, Nick is actually very open to it. It kind of like is like the ex-boyfriend giving the approval to the new boyfriend in a way, even though they're not dating yet. And you know, when George Best comes back over and like says like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" It's like, yeah, like he's a totally good guy. He actually likes you. It's like there is a honest, genuine attraction here. So I'm like, you know, you should explore it. You know, definitely don't let it. You know, don't let me stop you. Yeah, so everyone reunites at the Claw, because they all failed at being each other. So I'm like, they have to go. So once Best Snake arrives, she performs a very half-assed seance in the freaking back room of the place with like using kitchen utensils. Nancy Ace goes outside to like get a breath of fresh air. She sees her dad Carson picking up their mom's favorite sandwich they used to get at the Claw, and like, you know, it's a little bonding moment again. Like also Ace kind of like Nancy helping Ace get some more points with Carson if like they ever do pair up. You know, that's like really smart thinking here, like setting up the seeds for like the fatherly approval. So that works. They go back, the seance is over, they get the curse out. That was like pretty much it. So now they got to dispose of it, but thankfully since Ace is going to be stuck in the river, in the lake all night, he can just throw it in there and then boom, bombs your uncle, like you know, case solved. So then Ryan shows up with the rest of the pyramid. He connects it together. It shocks them all back into each other's bodies, so that's a success. Everyone's kind of like, you know, now filling in with each other fully. To get everything fully caught back up. Nancy tells Ace, yeah, you stuck with your dad overnight. I'm sorry. You stuck with that, bro. Nancy now finally gets to go off and like finish off the Black Room mystery on her own. Nick gets filled in about like the council meeting, how that freaking failed. George now actually being more inclined to do a proper date with her classmate, and Bess like once again realizing like, yeah, she misses the Historic Society a lot. So from then on, Nancy heads over back to the yacht club. She finds a secret staircase below. She goes downstairs. Very creepy room. It's like they got a freaking like some weird like statue or like motto or something, like, you know, hanging from the roof. And she finds this incantation in like a black rectangle, and she reads it, and it showcases a door. However, the power emanating from that like scares Nancy away. She gets spooked. She just takes a book away from the shelf and then runs away with it, leaving the Black Room to be open another day. Yeah, so then I think from that point, everyone reunites back at the Claw. They look at the book, and like, you know, they're just counting down like what they learned. So apparently the creature's name is called the Sin Eater. Which I'm like, okay, yeah, that was kind of like, you know, a given, considering the fact that that was one of the name of the episode. So I'm like, I'm not surprised that was the name of it, but yeah, there you go. So now that they know the name, it also has what they use to make the creature. So hopefully something here would like create the weakness to get rid of it. So now they have a plan against the Sin Eater, so they can like probably put an end to all this. I believe from that point onward, yeah, everyone starts splitting up. Nancy once again reminds Ace that he's kind of stuck with his dad tonight, but of course, since this is the anniversary of like, you know, not having her mom anymore, well, you know, her mom, well, actually no, her mom, that Ace should take the time to like, you know, still be with his dad and like, you know, spend as much time as he can with him, because like you never really know with life, you never really know, and honestly that's a really good lesson, so to speak. I actually had to deal with something kind of similar, not to that extent, but like just like the reminder of like, you know, time is precious. So I'm like, even if it seems like something you don't want to do, you might want to do it instead, because like, you know, you never know when you can do it again. So after that point, once Ace leaves, this is kind of like one of those other sweet moments where like Nancy's a bit off. Nick asks her what's up, and Nancy's like, in life, since everything happened, like I never really had to depend on everyone. I've been either self-sufficient or had my family. And then, you know, once I spiraled out of the way, once my mom died, and then until you guys came along and we became this little family, that I was able to finally depend on people again, to actually have like, you know, a reason to fight for and like, you know, keep going. And that includes Ace, and how important that he is to her life, which is like, you know, really, really sweet. So afterwards, Nancy decides, you know what, my dad was right. We should like celebrate this moment together. At the same time, Ace goes over to the river with his dad, also like, you know, making like the closure of like, yeah, Nancy and I just were never meant to be. So I'm like, yeah, you to kind of have to live with that's for the best. I think we're just gonna work out being friends for now, and then see what the future holds. So from that point onwards, he also drops the container in the river, gives a hug to his dad, who was blissfully unaware about this. We arrive back at the Drew house where like they're setting up for dinner. It's a very nice, piece. They invite Ryan over because like, he's still part of the family as well. It's all very sweet. It really, it's like a very sweet moment between this little family. Nick decides, you know what, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to run for city council. It just seems that, it's not in the right mindset to like, be doing this politically. It doesn't seem like I can really do much from that seat. So we're going to do things another way, helping the people, doing what we can from the shadows, like in secret. And he wants to make and fund a secret historic society for Bess, which I'm like, Nick, you're hemorrhaging money. I mean, I know the bonds that Tiffany gave you were like a lot, but I'm like, I don't know why. It just seems like you're not like, don't blow your money. It's not, construction is not easy. It's not. So Nancy, everyone assembles at the table, they're having a little speech, and Nancy decides to rekindle an old Drew tradition, where we throw cake on each other, and like everyone is like sticky and covered in sugar, which I'm like, that's very sweet. Also, before that happens, Ryan pulls Nancy aside to let her know that like, so the person who like kind of bum rushed us with like only giving us half the pyramid turns out to be the Glasses, the people that the relic hunters that Ryan messed with at the end of last season. So they still remember that like, hey, you destroyed our priceless artifact. You're gonna get it somehow, and like have fun. I hope that body switching thing was a lot of fun for you. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that was probably, and I was like, they don't forget, like they'll be back soon. Later on, Nancy goes back home. She gets a call from Ace letting her know, like, thank you for the advice of like spending time with my dad. And he admits that like, like they both have been like, we need each other in each other's life. Like our lives are better because we have each other, and that we should always like try to be together and like, try to bring out the best in each other, and like, that this, they'll figure it out somehow, but like, they definitely need to be on the same page of like, we want this to work. We want to be in each other's lives, and that was, again, like, them at this point, like accepting the fact like, they're going to try and find a way to make this work somehow. But the episode ends with Nancy like putting a note, like a very obvious note on her board saying that, how do we kill the Sun Eater? And that was it for this week's episode of Nancy Drew. For me, I thought this episode, like, it was really, really sweet with everything with Nancy's mom and remembering her in a way. The body switching stuff was really fun. It was just like, again, like they're finding these creative ways this season, especially to like, how do we continue progressing the main plot line, but also have like, funny things to do in middle, like to keep everyone engaged, keep everything going with the story. And that was really fun to see all the dynamics, to see Nick's actor in a British accent, and just see everyone just act differently. Like, it's just so weird. It really is, but I think it flows so well. Getting to see Ace's dad again was pretty nice to see. It's been a while since we've seen him, considering the fact he is a very important part in Ace's life still. The whole messaging with again, Nancy's mom was like very, very touching, very much like, I'm pretty sure if anyone like is having one of those moments right now, you probably were either emotional or shedding a tear. So I'm like, that definitely was something to like, really connect with, so to speak. We're not forgetting about the Glasses. They'll be back, they'll be back. Like those people, honestly, I keep forgetting what they look like. I really did. I thought the city council, one of the city meeting people that trying to torment Nick was like one of them, and I'm like, that's someone else. I'm like, do we really need more people now? Like, again, I know they were writing this as the final season, but I'm like, y'all keep adding these new characters, and I'm like, I don't know, we got time to really land the ship here. I really don't know. Like, I don't think this is the right cue and call right now, so to speak. But yeah. Honestly, other than that, like, this was just another fun episode of Nancy Drew. Definitely, we're just progressing a little bit closer. I don't think there is much mystery left to solve. It's just they need to find a way to kill the Sin Eater, and I guess that's it. Bob's your uncle. So there really isn't much more left. So I wouldn't be surprised if they spend the next couple episodes just like doing what they did in the last 3 episodes and just like finding fun ways to progress the plot, but just not by too much. But you know what? We still have a little ways to go. But for now, I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up. I enjoyed it a whole lot. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this week's episode of Nancy Drew. I would love to have a conversation with you down below about it. But I believe it's going to do it for me today, everyone. So I don't know what it's been. What's the 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the final season of Nancy Drew. If you want to know what we're doing normally, what's the 2 besides our Nancy Drew episode reviews. Right now, we are currently doing the Crowded Room reviews each and every week at the brand new episodes on Apple TV. If you don't care, however, we're also doing, starting next week, Heels episode reviews. We're back, baby. We're back in the world of the DWF. It's going to be a lot of fun to get back in there. That'll be starting next week up, and then a couple of weeks after that we got High School Musical. So we're this summer's starting to really heat up a little bit as we go into like kind of a little somber fall. But you know, there's still a lot on the horizon. There's still very much is. But if you don't care about Nancy Drew, you're like, we'll be back with another brand new episode next week. So stay tuned for that. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell and follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, for all you members of the Drew crew out there, I'll see you all next week for another brand new episode review. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.